Hey guys, today we're going to look at ancient...
Hey guys, today we're here at Mandagapattu here in ancient India.
So we have Hugh Newman, who's a big celebrity. He's actually living in England and he's now in India. He's the man behind Megalithomania. This is a YouTube channel. He does a lot of conferences. He has appeared on BBC, he's on Ancient Aliens on History Channel, he's on Bosnian TV, he is on, Skynet Australia?
Yeah, Gaia TV.
Gaia TV.
Amongst other things, yeah.
Amongst other things. He has written many books, he has produced different documentaries. I'm lucky to have him, and we're going to explore Mandagapattu Temple, which is at least 1,400 years in India. But there's something really unique about the Mandagapattu site, okay? Can you tell me what it is? It's completely different than most of the temples built in ancient India. It's built with a negative construction technique.
Oh, I see.
Now, what does that mean, right? What's a negative construction technique, right? So how would you build your house? Or how would you build an office or a temple or whatever, right? So you start from the ground level and you start adding materials to it, right? This is how we do it. This is what we think about when we talk about constructing something. But here, it's not built by adding material to it. It's built by removing materials to it. So this is really crazy. Most people don't understand that this is really unique about this temple. Nothing is added to create this temple. So this temple was created by removing materials. So it's like a negative construction technique.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because it also makes it like a permanent temple.
Yes.
It's never going to go anywhere. No way, you can't take a stone away.
Yes.
As a little souvenir.
Exactly.
You can't destroy it.
Yes.
It's almost like this permanent megalithic, like immortal space.
Right. Yes. Okay, let's go up and take a closer look.
Wow.
Hugh, let's remove our shoes here.
Sure.
So just because these are still Hindu temples, and we'll just try to be as respectful as we can. According to historians, right, this is 1400 years old. Mandagapattu is a 1400-year-old site, which makes it one of the oldest monolithic temples in South India, if not the oldest in South India. Some historians argue that we have Badami Caves, which is also built around the same time. They think Badami Caves was built maybe a few decades before this, but this is at least the oldest monolithic temple made out of one stone in this state.
So officially this is the oldest temple in this state, around 1400 years old, but is there absolute proof of this? I mean, could it be much older? Were these godlike figures added later? I mean, what do you think?
Well, this is a good question. I always wonder about this. I always think the temples are built much, much older back in time. I would even say 5,000 years old, 10,000 years old. Sometimes I say, is it possible that these temples were built 12,000 years ago? Okay. But luckily for us, that's why I say this is a unique temple. Okay. So we have this. Okay. So here you have an inscription.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're going to try and see what this inscription says. Can you read this, Hugh?
Absolutely not. No chance.
Yeah. So we're going to try to spray some water and see if we can read the inscription. Okay, so here I have pure distilled water, guys. This is distilled water that I'm using. So this way we don't damage the inscriptions, you know. But as you can see, it's not really clear. So I'm going to spray some water and see if that brings it out. Okay. But you can see at least some parts of this coming out. So what the inscription says here, this inscription is in Sanskrit here. It says, Etat anishtakam, adrumam, aloham, ashudam, vichitra chittena, nirmarpitam, nrupena, brahmeshwara vishnu, lakshitayanam. So what does that mean, right? So what that means is that he says this temple was built without adding any wood or timber. No metal was added. No bricks were added. Not even any binding material like lime mortar was added to this. So this temple was built without adding anything by a person called Vichitra Chittan. Okay? And this is a name of a king called Mahendravarman who lived 1400 years ago. So, and this is a theory. And of course, you could argue that Vichitra Chittan was not the name of Mahendravarman. So that's one point. Okay. So we don't know like perfectly. We don't know for sure if this was built 1400 years ago because it doesn't say the name of the king directly. It doesn't say Mahendravarman. It says Vichitra Chittan, which means a weird architect, which means a strange architect. That's what it actually means.
Really?
Yeah, it means a strange architect.
Do you think they're kind of hinting at some kind of like magician or some kind of elite, like who had this?
I would like to think so.
Because the other thing is that to me, this inscription looks like it could easily have been added later.
It's possible.
It doesn't look like it's extremely high quality like much of this temple is.
Well, that's a good point.
And I don't know. I mean, that's one of the things we find in Egypt, for instance. Like if you go to the Serapeum at Saqqara, there's inscriptions on these beautifully cut, polished, stone, granite sarcophagi. But the inscriptions are clearly added later. They're much less quality.
Okay.
And it makes me wonder about many of these temples. Were they super ancient?
Okay.
Then the decoration and the writing may have been added later. Now, I'm just purely speculating. I could be wrong.
Right. But
it's just the sort of feeling I get when you compare it to other places around the world.
Right. That's an excellent theory. So Hugh's bringing up something really, really interesting. He's saying that is it possible that this inscription was added later? Because he's saying that the quality of the pillars and everything looks really amazing. But look at the inscription. It's definitely of low quality. Okay. That's an excellent point here. Let's go inside, see what else we can find. Okay.
Okay.
So let's go to that central chamber and tell me what you think.
Yeah, this is very, very interesting. This is, so this almost feels like it's some kind of meditation chamber to me. That's what I get a feeling. I sort of sense that at a couple of other sites. I mean, I don't know. I mean, was there once a lingam here? Is that now gone? And why is there some kind of spillage there? Is that because there was a lingam?
You tell me. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it just seems like that. There should be.
There should have been a lingam here, right?
Yeah.
But you think it's gone?
It appears that way. I mean, there's almost like a space for it. And I don't know. I mean, because it's so old, this place, and, we are speculating that it could be really old.
Okay.
We just don't know. We don't really know what was going on. But I just get a sense that this is the kind of holy of holies.
This is a central chamber.
Yeah.
Probably dedicated to Lord Shiva.
Yeah.
Let's go and look at that chamber. So this was probably a chamber dedicated to Lord Brahma.
Yeah.
Okay? But where is Lord Brahma?
Yeah, true. Where are the statues? And it's like, so in a general sense, you have Vishnu on one side, Shiva in the middle, and Brahma on this side. Is this a general thing we find in most temples? Yeah?
Yes.
I mean, even in the earliest temples, would that be the case?
Yes.
Okay. So do you know, I mean, do you know if any statues or anything or lingams were found here? Or is it always been a sort of sparse temple like this with no ornamentation as such?
See, this is a very good question, right? No historian has addressed this question because the inscription that I read says this is a temple dedicated to Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So it talks about three gods, right? Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. But where are the gods? The gods are not there, right? the inscription also said something important. It said nothing was added to it.
Right. So there maybe was nothing else here then.
So if it was added, that falsifies the inscription.
God, okay. It gets very confusing after a while when you kind of try and compare what the reality to what the inscriptions say.
Right. If it was dedicated to Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, where are the statues? You see? Yeah. Let's go and take a look at the third chamber.
Yeah.
So this is the third chamber, right? This is probably dedicated to Vishnu. Again, what does the inscription say, right? It says that this temple is dedicated to three gods, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. But where are the gods? The gods are missing, right? And you don't see a sign of destruction. If it was destroyed, it would look completely different, right? You would see the broken stuff here. So, where are the gods? The gods are missing. So that goes against the inscription. If you argue that these statues were made of wood or metal and they were just installed here, again that goes against the inscription.
Yeah.
Because the inscription says nothing was added to it.
Yeah.
You see, now we're in a complete, nobody is addressing this actually. No historian or archaeologist has addressed this. Because what we find in the inscription is not matching up with what we see here. Is it possible that we're looking at an invisible statue? I'd like to, is it possible that they were thinking that Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva were invisible gods at that time?
Wow.
That's one possibility. Another possibility, you can definitely argue that maybe the inscription was added later. Maybe there's something missing that we don't understand.
That is the one thing, that being pretty much the only inscription here. There's none in here. There's none on the walls. There's none on any of the pillars or anything like this.
Yes.
There's none in the chambers.
Right.
So that, to me, that kind of reminds me of places like ancient Egypt and ancient Peru.
Okay.
Where the older, more megalithic sites don't have any inscriptions, like the Great Pyramid even. Okay. It's only later temples and from a much later era that they started putting all the hieroglyphs on. And so it just feels a bit like that. This feels like one of the sort of pristine, super ancient temples.
Do you have an example of a site in Egypt where you think the inscription was added later?
Definitely. I mean, I think not dissimilar to this is the Assyrian at Abydos in southern Egypt.
Oh.
Where there's no inscriptions there originally, but later Seti I started putting inscriptions on top of the temple, on top of the surfaces.
Oh, at Assyrian and Abydos, right?
Yeah, and that's like the giant megalithic, almost subterranean temple, which has got 200-ton, 300-ton blocks.
There's one more detail that you're gonna like, okay? You see this?
Yeah.
And you see that on the other side?
Yeah.
What is that? You see here?
Okay, yeah.
What is that? You see these square slots, 2 on this side and 2 on this side?
I have no idea. What would that be? A door?
Exactly, a door.
So would this have been a stone door?
That's the question, isn't it? Because if the inscription is true, they cannot add anything from the outside, right? They cannot put a wooden or a metal door. So he had to carve this. If the inscription is true, and if these slots were put there for the doors, he had to carve a swinging door from the bedrock itself.
Yes.
Is that even possible? To create a monolithic door that's a part of the entire big stone.
Yeah.
Is such a technology even possible?
Yeah, that'd be difficult, wouldn't it? Very difficult.
It's beyond my imagination.
Yeah, I mean,
but if that inscription is true, that's the only way.
Yeah.
Because he says, no, I'm not going to add anything to this.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's true. I mean, you've got all the kind of parts to kind of place something.
Right.
So it just seems like it could well be.
Right.
There could be something there, but would that be sealed off, or would it be, you'd be able to open it from, would it be split down the middle, open like this, like a cupboard, or?
Yeah.
That is fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. See, again, you can see the same slots on that side too. You can see they definitely put doors.
Yeah.
There's no doubt, right?
Yeah, there's something going on, isn't there? But for what purpose as well? I mean,
why put a door to guard a chamber that's empty, Hugh?
Yeah, that's it.
The chamber doesn't have anything.
There must have been something in these.
Right.
There must have been.
Right.
So that just defies the whole inscription completely. And I'm just baffled by this.
With the spillage?
Well, that is just like, you know, if this is a Shiva area,
right,
then there would have been a lingam. And
yeah.
Like you say, an invisible lingam.
Right. This is my theory. Maybe is it possible that they thought that Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu were originally invisible gods?
I can hear the echo as you speak.
Yeah.
Wow.
You can go inside and you can hum,
yeah.
and you can get the reverberation if you want.
Yeah, no.
You can go inside and you can
check this out. Oh, there's a spider in there. Okay. Ooh. You can feel that.
Yeah.
And just when I'm talking like this.
Absolute reverberation.
Oh my God, it just like engulfs you. It's like completely surrounds you.
Yeah.
So these could well be designed for acoustic purposes then. There could be an element of that.
Yes.
So it has this kind of, almost like putting you into an altered state.
Yeah.
As you kind of chant and sing or play drums or musical instruments here.
See, this is what I'm saying. I'm saying that this chamber is empty and it had doors. So imagine if you were like a master meditator, right? So you would go in, you would shut the door, you would sit inside and imagine chanting the mantras. Like imagine the reverberation that's going to be around you.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think I think there's probably specific size, geometry, acoustic kind of design within this. It just seems.
See, even here, we can see the echo. But as you go inside, the reverberation is just magical. You can see the vibration of every word you say, right?
Sure, that's very, very interesting.
Yeah. See, here's the big dilemma for us, right? If that inscription is true, because the inscription says we have three gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, where are the idols? If you say the idols were added externally, using metal or wood or something like that, again, that falsifies the inscription. Now, if the inscription is true, that nothing was added to it, why do we see these slots for the door? That means the only way that a door like this could be created is to make a megalithic door made of stone as a part of this giant rock. This is beyond my imagination. Do you think, have you ever seen one like this?
One place that you've been to and written about, Coral Castle. And this was in the 1950s he did this, Edward Liskelnin. Yeah. But he somehow managed to do that. But this feels like it's, number one, it's older, a lot older. And number two, they've gone. And quite possibly, it could be the case. I mean, it could have been the same bit of stone, but they must have been removable somehow.
Yeah. Okay, so let's forget the doors. I'll show you the doorkeepers.
Okay. Look, you got even so this is something you don't see much at temples or megaliths in England, although you do get a few pagans and druids. But this is a living temple. People are doing rituals here, ceremonies.
Absolutely.
Even marking this, what, turmeric is it on?
Turmeric, right.
On this kind of god.
Yeah, you can see them lighting oil lamps. They're putting turmeric on it. Yeah, all temples in India are still living temples. Locals come here and they do specific rituals.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Just like a continuity all the way through since.
Of course, this is the last bastion of a pagan civilization, and we got 1 billion people
doing it,
worshipping the gods from thousands and thousands of years, and that's why we want to protect it.
Yeah, for sure. So to you, what does this mean? How can you explain this to someone like me who's this is the first time they've been to a temple like this?
So these are the doorkeepers. These are the guardian doorkeepers. These are called Dwarapalakas, which literally translates to guardian doorkeepers. So you'll usually find them guarding the doors of the gods. And of course, that's really interesting because the gods are not there, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't see the gods inside. So what are these two figures actually guarding, right? What are they like protecting? We don't understand that. And then, like, what do you think? This is how tall do you think this figure is? How tall are you? I think you're like 6 foot tall.
Yeah, I'm 6'1", but this is like, I mean, he's got bent over like this and doing all this. So this is.
He is bent over and still you can see how tall
So
he
we're
is.
talking 8 to 9 feet tall.
Right.
You know,
He
I would
is a
imagine.
giant.
Yeah. So I mean, there are giants in mythology here, aren't there? There are giant skeletons that have been found.
Yes. He is a Nephilim. He is a giant.
So these gatekeepers, are they kind of remembered as giants then? Is it one of the
Yes.
traditions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Amazing.
And he is not really human. You may have thought that he's human, but he's not really human because look here. Look at the sides of the mouth.
Yeah.
You can see the fangs.
Mm.
And you know, another interesting thing about this is that he doesn't have any eyelids.
Yeah.
He doesn't have them like this, so his eyes are popping out.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are our gods. Like, a lot of people think like Dwarapalakas are humans, but you can see the fangs coming out. Let's go on the other side and let's see if that figure has fangs too. Okay.
Okay.
So this doorkeeper on this side, he's not bent over, right? So you can see how tall he is. He's easily 8 foot tall,
Yeah,
right?
he's about 8 foot, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, look at the detail here. He's not human. He's got a fangs.
there are fangs, aren't they? That is strange. Very happy, though.
Yeah.
Happy fellow.
Yeah.
They've got different hats.
Yes.
I mean, different styles of adornments and everything else.
See, that Dwarapalaka on that side did not have this projection. You see this projection coming out of his head? He has something coming out and going. It looks different. I think this is a snake.
Mm.
Do you think this is a snake? I think, you can see the face and you can see the eyeball there. So I think there's a snake coming out of his head. And look at this side here.
Yeah.
Right? He's leaning on that giant wooden club, right? Like a mace. And if we go past him without asking for his permission, he's going to take it and he's going to like smash us. Right? And you see this cobra wrapped around the stuff.
Mm.
And now you should compare, because you're a giant for an Indian, right? You're more than 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
You're definitely taller than me. So put your hand next to his hand and see how it feels.
Yeah, I mean, look at that.
Yeah, put your hand. See how...
That's about right. But this one here is like, what the hell?
You see that?
I mean, why is that one so big? Maybe it needs to be that big to hold this giant club to hit the people.
Yeah, you see, he was an actual giant, so his hand is so large.
You know, like you say, if he's guarding something, where is it?
Right. What is he guarding?
Do you think it must have been, this is all wrong, this inscription, and it must have been taken? Do you think there must have been things here? What's your opinion?
If there was something taken, right, that must have been added to it, right? Because we don't see any sign of destruction.
Yeah.
But the inscription says nothing was added to it. The inscription clearly says whatever was taken out, it was just granite.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this is the mystery of Mandagapattu. This is a real mystery. But there's one more mystery.
Okay.
There's just one last mystery of Mandagapattu.
Yeah.
That, I don't know if you caught it. Are we at the ground level of the temple? Or are we at the top? Or where are we, do you think?
Well, that's what I noticed when we came here. The fact is that the steps, they're clearly not original, are they? I mean,
yeah.
So what, is this a thing then at these temples where they're just raised up like 6 or 7 feet and then suddenly there it is? I mean, why would they make it like that? If you can't really get inside it, can you? Unless you kind of levitate up and walk on in. But is there a reason for this? I mean, what's your take on that?
there is something really, really strange about Mandagapattu temple, and I saved the best for the last, because this is a totally new rock cutting technology, because we are not at the ground level and we are not at the top of the rock either.
Yeah.
We are in the mid-level.
Yeah.
And there's no temple like this where builders started from the middle.
Right.
So there are two types of rock cutting technology in monolithic temples. One is called the cut-out rock technology. For example, Kailasa temple in Ellora caves. So they start from the top of the mountain and they start to remove the rocks out. They cut the rocks out and they create the Kailasa temple, right? There are temples where you start from the ground level and you go in and you create temples. But this temple, we are not at the ground level and we are not at the top either. So this is a totally new rock cutting technology. For some reason, they started in the middle of the rock. Okay, so this is a new rock cutting technology and nobody has understood this until now. So we're going to give it a name. We're going to call this Tamil rock cutting technology, because we are in Tamil Nadu, in the state where we speak Tamil, because I can't think of a better name. But we want to call this Tamil rock cutting technology because they started from the midsection. We're at least 7 to 8 feet above the ground level, and we're definitely not on top of the rock. So they started from the midsection, and if we go down, I'll show you what they've done below.
Okay, let's check it out.
Let's put the shoes back on. Yeah. Let's go down and see.
Right.
Now, what do you think about these steps?
Well, these don't look like they're very ancient.
Mm-hmm.
So, were they just added later?
Absolutely, right? Because the whole idea of building a monolithic temple is not to add anything to it, right? So you can clearly see these are individual stone slabs, right? And you can see this is all new. They've just put concrete here.
Yeah.
You can see this is new, right? But now, this is the ground level. Well, this may not even be the ground level.
I mean, it was probably lower.
Yeah, probably lower. Exactly, right? So, this is the mid-level, and you can see this is like 50, 60 feet on top.
Yeah.
So, how did people climb up without these steps?
I mean, that's my height. That's 6 foot at least.
Yeah.
Maybe 6.5 feet. And it would have been
much lower. You can see they've put, look, as we go here,
I mean,
this is all new.
I mean, the only way you could get up is just go along this thing, but that's not.
Yeah, see, if you came to this temple, let's say 1,000 years ago, how would you get in?
Yeah.
Without
how would you get in? There's nothing there. There's literally nothing.
Right.
It's almost like it's been designed just to be there.
Right.
To not go in, just a view from almost like a distance.
Right. And why would they build a temple where nobody can even enter?
It's very strange. Unless it was like was it a practice run? Was it like a kind of
levitation?
Yeah, I mean, could they have been like using this as to kind of practice their technology here? And they were kind of, and they kind of accidentally gave the game away that they could levitate or they were giants. Something like this.
Well, this is an interesting point. Like, if they did levitation, or were they actually like real giants, they could just go up.
I mean, you got these niche like this here, but is that natural? You got a couple here, but you're not going to get your foot in there.
So what do you think about this, for example?
I don't know. I mean, this could be a niche. I mean, it's got a little kind of, I think that's probably partly natural, but it doesn't look like it's kind of been hacked out. It's hard to tell.
What about this one?
There's a lot of weathering here.
And what about this one?
Yeah, there are a few actually, aren't there? Yeah, you can see them.
These are definitely tool marks.
Yeah. So that's something there.
Yeah, I mean, this is one.
Whether there was
this is one. These are tool marks. They were cutting the rocks. They were creating another level.
Oh.
At the ground level.
So you think this is like the beginning of the next level of construction?
They finished it, they have finished it, and they started with the ground level.
That's interesting.
They may have even gone below and then like gone deeper and deeper. We don't know how deep this rock is.
So these are the clues, really, aren't they?
Right.
But still, getting up there to even work on it is difficult.
Why would you do it, right? Why would you start from there? Not at the top, not at the bottom. Why would you start in the middle? And then you start at the bottom. And why did you just abandon it? Why did you not finish it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big question mark, isn't it?
Yeah. On the top, you can see, like, this is about 50, 60 foot tall rock, right?
Yeah.
Now, at one corner, you can see that line. I don't know if you noticed that line.
Yeah, yeah, you can sort of
You see what that is?
A little bit of shaping.
Yeah. You see that line?
Yeah, that's true.
What is it?
Is that natural? That is difficult to tell from here, but...
Does it remind you of anything? You can see another line here.
Yeah, there's a couple up there, aren't there, actually? Yeah. That is interesting, because that could suggest they were beginning something up there.
Exactly.
These could suggest they were beginning something down here.
Yes.
So has this been recognized as an unfinished temple?
Well, that's a standard theory. Most of the historians and archaeologists think that most of the ancient temples built around this time are all unfinished. Right. Okay. But see that line up there, you know what that is? That's called a drip ledge.
Okay.
That's a canopy. Like, you know how we build canopies on the houses? So when it rains, the rain will just fall like this. It won't go inside.
Okay.
So they're starting to do that. That means they would have built another level and then they would have finished it like a tower.
Oh.
Up like this. You see the monuments in Mahabalipuram? They wanted to finish it like this.
Yes, I see.
But I don't think they ever did.
Yeah, that's very interesting, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the drip ledge or the canopy. We're looking at like a 1400-year-old canopy, if not older, right? At least 1400 years old. So that's what we see. We see a kind of a temple that's unreachable, hanging in midair, and with all these strange details.
Yeah, I mean, to the untrained eye, there's really not much here. But when you start looking at all the little details that you've been pointing out, you realize there's something else going on here.
What is your opinion? Like, I would like to hear your opinion, right? Because you've traveled around the world looking at all these megalithic structures. Have you seen anything like this?
Not exactly like this, but what I do find interesting is that it reminds me of places like the sort of unfinished temples in Peru, you know, and that's often granite.
Ollantaytambo?
Ollantaytambo. It reminds me as well the way that everything's kind of placed, even some of the temples in Egypt as well. And you start looking at the Hypogeum caves of Sardinia, Malta, Menorca even. You do get this thing, but often it's not in granite. That's the difference. So this is like 10 times harder to deal with. Right. Because that's usually limestone or fairly soft sandstone or something like this. But this is granite. So this is a different beast. But just the fact that they're going straight into rock and not leaving anything else available, I think is unique. And I've seen elements of this throughout southern India at certain sites. And they just had this mastery of working with granite. And some of it looks like it's even polished when you go to certain sites. This looks a little bit more rough-hewn, but still, it's an immense amount of work.
So, what do you think about this temple? Did you like it?
I did. I think it's very interesting. It's just the fact that the ancient people of India were carving out of solid granite, I think is just mind-blowing. I think we have to accept that as a kind of wow factor, because I think most people, if you look at pictures or look at videos, you just think it's like limestone or some kind of softer rock, but this is granite. Yeah. So yeah, I'm blown away by this place.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you give the Mandagapattu temple?
I think I would give it 11.
11? You think this is 11? I'll show you a temple that's 100. Let's go.
Okay.